Alright guys, so there's a popular Facebook post that's circulating. A black police officer wrote a very lengthy piece onto his Facebook, which has gone viral. It has, let's see here. It's got 44,000 likes, 140,000 shares. And I think what he does is he criticizes the Black Lives Matter movement and what he has seen himself personally in black communities as a black police officer. I read about a quarter of it and then I realized this is pretty good stuff. Let me read it live and react to it live as I read it to you guys. So here we go. Black police officer. I have come to realize something that is still hard for me to understand to this day. The following may be a shock to some coming from an African American, but the mere fact that it may be shocking to some is prima facie evidence of the sad state of affairs that we are in as humans. I used to be so torn inside growing up. Here I am, a young African American born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, wanting to be a cop. I watched and lived through the crime that took place in my hood. My own black people killing others over nothing. Crackheads and heroin addicts lined the lobby of my building as I shuffled around them to make way to our one-bedroom apartment with 6 of us living inside. I used to be woken up in the middle of the night by the sound of gunfire, only to look outside and see that it was 2 African Americans shooting each other. It never sat right with me. I wanted to help my community and stop watching the blood of African Americans spilled on the street at the hands of a fellow black man. I became a cop because black lives in my community, along with all lives, mattered to me and wanted to help stop the bloodshed. As time went by in my law enforcement career, I quickly began to realize something. I remember the countless times I stood 2 inches from a young black man, around my age, laying on his back, gasping for air as blood filled his lungs. I remember them bleeding profusely with the unforgettable smell of the oxygenated dark red blood in the air as it leaked from the bullet holes in his body onto the hot sidewalk on a summer day. I remember the countless family members who attacked me, spit on me, cursed me as I put up crime scene tape to cordon off the crime scene, yelling and screaming out of pain and anger at the sight of their loved ones taking their last breath. I never took it personally. I knew they were hurting. I remember the countless times I had to order new uniforms because the ones I had on were bloody from the blood of another black victim of black-on-black crime. I remember the countless times I got back in my patrol car, distraught after having watched another black male die in front of me, having to start my preliminary report something like this. Suspect, black male. Victim, black male. I remember the countless times I canvassed the area afterwards and asked everyone, "Did you see who did it?" And the popular response from the very same family members was always, quote, "Fuck the police, I ain't no snitch, I'm gonna take care of this myself." This happened every single time, every single homicide, black on black, and then my realization became clearer. This is as far as I read, so I don't know what's going to happen. I woke up every morning, put my freshly pressed uniform on, shined my badge, function checked my weapon, kissed my wife and kid, and waited for my wife to say the same thing she always does before I leave. Make sure you come back home to us. I replied, I will, but the truth was I was never sure I would. I almost lost my life on this job, and every call, every stop, every moment that I had this uniform on was another possibility for me to almost lose my life again. I was a target in the very community I swore to protect, the very community I wanted to help. As a matter of fact, they hated my very presence. They called me Uncle Tom and a wannabe white boy. Wow. Ridiculous, bro. And I couldn't understand why. My own fellow black men and women attacking me, wishing for my death, wishing for the death of my family. I was confused, so torn, I couldn't understand why my own black people would turn against me, when every time they called, I was there. Every time someone died, I was there. Every time they were going through one of the worst moments in their lives, I was there. So why was I the enemy? I dove deep into that question. Why was I the enemy? Then my realization became clearer. I spoke to members of the community and listened to some of the complaints as to why they hated cops. I then did research on the facts. I also presented facts to these members of the community and listened to their complaints in response. This is what I learned. Complaint. Police always targeting us. They always messing with the black man. Fact. A city where the majority of citizens are black, Baltimore for example, will always have a higher rate of black people getting arrested. It will always have a higher rate of blacks getting stopped, and will always have a higher rate of blacks getting killed. And the reason why is because a city with those characteristics will always have a higher rate of blacks committing crime. The statistics will follow the same trend for Asians if you go to China, for Hispanics if you go to Puerto Rico, for whites if you go to Russia, and the list goes on. It's called demographics. Complaint. More black people get arrested than white boys. Fact. Black people commit a grossly disproportionate amount of crime. Data from the FBI shows that nationwide, blacks committed 5,173 homicides in 2014, whites committed 4,367. Chicago's death toll is almost equal to that of both wars in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. Makes you think of the movie Chirac by Spike Lee, which basically glorifies this shitty-ass ghetto lifestyle of killing each other in fucking Chicago. I'm telling you, if there ever was, and this is me, not him, by the way, real quick side note, I'm telling you, if ever there was a white supremacist agenda to destroy black people, it's coming from the leftist, liberal Hollywood side who glorify and enable thug, gangbanger, kill each other culture. Back to this man's Facebook post. Chicago's death toll is almost equal to that of both wars in Iraq and Afghanistan combined. Chicago's death toll from 2001 November 26 of 2015 stands at 7,401. The combined total deaths during Operation Iraqi Freedom, 4,815, and Operation Enduring Freedom / Afghanistan, 3,506. Total, 8,321. Complaint. Blacks are the only ones getting killed by police, or they are killed more. Fact. As of July 2016, the breakdown in the number of U.S. citizens killed by police this year is 238 white people, 123 black people, 79 Hispanics, and 69 other and or unknown race. Fact. Black people kill more other blacks than police do, and there are only protests and outrage when a cop kills a black man. University of Toledo criminologist Dr. Richard R. Johnson examined the latest crime data from the FBI's Supplementary Homicide Reports and Center for Disease Control and found that an average of 4,472 black men were killed by other black men annually between January 1st, 2009 and December 31st, 2012. Professor Johnson's research further concluded that 112 black men died from both justified and unjustified police-involved killings annually during the same period. Complaint. Well, we already doing a good job of killing ourselves. We don't need the police to do it. Besides, they should know better. The more I listened, the more I realized. The more I researched, the more I realized. I would ask questions and would only get emotional responses and inferences based on no facts at all. The more killing I saw, the more tragedy, the more savagery, the more violence, the more loss of life of a black man at the hands of another black man, the more I realized. I haven't slept well in the past few nights. Heartbreak weighs me down. Rage flows through my veins and tears fills my eyes. I watch my fellow officers assassinated on live television, and the images of them laying on the ground are seared into my brain forever. He's talking about the Dallas shooting where 5 cops were killed by a racist, black supremacist, BlackLivesMatter empathizer. I couldn't help but wonder if it had been me, a black man, a black cop, on TV assassinated, laying on the ground dead. Would my friends and family still think Black Lives Mattered? Would they make t-shirts in remembrance of me? Would they go on TV and protest violence? Would they even make a Facebook post or share a post in reference to my death? All of my realizations came to this conclusion. Black lives do not matter to most black people. Only the lives that make the national news matter to them. Only the lives that are taken at the hands of cops or white people matter. The other thousands of lives lost, the other black souls that I along with every cop have seen taken at the hands of other blacks do not matter. Their deaths are unnoticed, accepted as the norm, and swept underneath the rug by the very people who claim and pose Black Lives Matter. I mean, wow. I realize that this country is full of ignorance, where an educated individual will watch the ratings-driven news media and watch a couple of YouTube video clips, and then come to the conclusion that they have all the knowledge they need to have in order to know what it feels like to have a bulletproof vest as part of your office equipment, stay alive as part of your daily to-do list, and having insurance for your health insurance because the high rate of death in your profession. They watch a couple videos and then they magically know in 2 minutes 35 seconds how you are supposed to handle a violent encounter which took you 6 months of academy training, 2 to 3 months of field training, and countless years of blood, sweat, tears, and broken bones experiencing violent encounters and fine-tuning your execution of the use of force continuum. I realize that there are even cops, duly sworn law enforcement officers who are supposed to be decent investigators, who will publicly go on the media and call other white cops racist and KKK based on a video clip that they watched thousands of miles away, which was filmed after the fact based on a case where the details aren't even known yet and the investigation hasn't even begun. I realize that most in the African American community refuse to look at solving the bigger problem that I see and deal with every day, which is black-on-black crime taking hundreds of innocent black lives each year, and instead focusing on the 9 questionable deaths of black men, where some were in fact in the act of committing crimes. I realize that they value the life of a sex offender and convicted felon who was in the act of committing multiple felonies, felon in possession of a firearm felony, brandishing and threatening a homeless man with a gun, aggravated assault in Florida, felony, who resisted officers who first tried to tase him and was not restrained, who can be clearly seen in one of the videos raising his right shoulder, then shooting it down towards the right side of his body, exactly where the firearm was located and recovered. More than the lives of the innocent cops who were assassinated in Dallas, protecting the very people that hated them the most. I realize that they refuse to believe that most cops acknowledge that there are bad cops who should have never been given a badge and gun, who are chicken shit and will shoot a cockroach if it crawls at them too fast, who never worked in the hood and may be intimidated. That most cops dread the thought of having to shoot someone and never see the turmoil and mental anguish that a cop goes through after having to kill someone to save his own life. Instead, they believe that we are all bloodthirsty killers because the media says so, even though the numbers prove otherwise. I realize that they truly feel as if the death of cops will help people realize the false narrative that Black Lives Matter, when all it will do is take their movement 2 steps backwards and label them domestic terrorists. I realize that some of these people who say Black Lives Matter are full of hate and racism. Hate for cops because of the false narrative that more black people are targeted and killed. Racism against white people for a tragedy that began hundreds of years ago, when most of the white people today weren't even born yet. I realize that some in the African American community's idea of justice is the prosecution of any and every cop or white man that kills or is believed to have killed a black man, no matter what the circumstances are. I realize the African American community refuses to look within to solve its major issues, and instead make excuses and looks outside for solutions. I realize that a lot of people in the African American community lead with hate instead of love, division instead of unity, turmoil and rioting instead of peace. I realize that they have become the very entity that they claim they are fighting against. I realize that the very reasons I became a cop are the very reasons my own people hate me, and now in this toxic, hateful, racially charged political climate, I am now more likely to die, and it is still hard for me to understand to this day. Woo! Wow. You gotta be confused as a black man in America when you see these conflicting sides. There's simply no way to rationalize these astronomical levels of black-on-black crime. And, man, it's just like, it just makes me wonder, what is causing this? What the fuck is causing this this divide where thugs, violent people who strong-arm rob Indian minority convenience stores? Mike Brown did that. And then he gets shot an hour later or 30 minutes later, whenever it was. How why would the Black Lives Matter movement glorify people, clear, just thug, violent morons? And it's gotta be fucking bizarre as a black man in America to turn on the TV and see on the mainstream media this stupid, delusional, self-destructive movement called Black Lives Matter. Like, man, I'm telling you, you want to talk about where the real black struggle is. It's not in the Black Lives Matter movement, these professional SJW, millennial, spoiled brat, pseudo-victims who are fucking angry that people are talking about the death of 75 people in France because it's taken away from attention of the Black Lives Matter movement, these spoiled fucking brats. The real suffering is probably in blacks who are aware enough, like this black man, this black cop, to just see this bizarre divide where the glorification of black people who are engaged in thuggish, self-destructive behavior is just broadcast on the mainstream media under the fucking Black Lives Matter banner. Which is why I've said lately, if ever there was a white supremacist agenda to just destroy black people, it's gotta be the fucking Black Lives Matter movement. Law enforcement is not being a white boy. As the black guy pointed out, that a lot of the victims of black people who died in black on black crime, when he would go ask the family, hey, can you give me details? The black family would say, fuck the police, we're not sellouts, we'll do this ourselves. And people called him a wannabe white boy for being a black cop. So what are you implying by that? Are you implying that black people can't do law enforcement? That law enforcement is a white people thing? Like, what the fuck? So anyways, I just want to reaffirm for any black people who are watching this video, if you're a black conservative, if you're a black Trump supporter, if you're a black cop, and you don't like the Black Lives Matter movement, hey man, hang in there. Hang in there, bruh. I refuse to succumb to racial hostility. So I refuse to walk through the world in fear of black people. So just know that there's hopefully a lot of people like me who aren't going to judge you and lump you into the category of the Black Lives Matter movement just because you're a black man. Even though you have the fucking black entertainment television and you have all these black celebrities and the fucking the black basketball players, NBA players coming out and saying we have to do something about the police brutality. Even though it might seem like all black people agree with the Black Lives Matter movement, the truth is that they don't fucking all agree. And I swear to God, if white supremacy is real, it is controlling and owns the Black Lives Matter movement.